Welcome to the Priority Zero podcast. Stories of service.
Welcome to the Priority Zero podcast. My name's Oresti, and today with us we have a very special guest, one of my good friends named Ben. Now, Ben is a veteran of the Australian Army, of the Tasmanian Police, of the Northern Territory Police Force, and of Border Force. Ben, welcome to the podcast, mate.
Hey, Oresti, good to see you, brother.
You too, man. I'm very excited to have you on. You've got quite extensive careers through many different agencies, and I know you've got a lot of stories to share as well, so I'm excited to have you on and be able to share a lot of your experiences with everyone, to give everyone some raw insights of, what these roles entail and, obviously the toll it takes on you as well, and share some, memorable moments, some funny stuff, some sad stuff, and to give everyone a raw insight of what these roles are actually like in real life. And it's very different to obviously what you see on TV. So I appreciate you coming on and sharing all this with us. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Let's start from the beginning.
Hey everyone, I'm Ben. I grew up in Tasmania. My family is, my dad's side's full British and my mum's side's Kiwi, Maori. And so I'm a bit of an enigma coming from Tassie.
Very cool. So tell us a little bit about what inspired you to go down the role. I believe, what was your first role? Was it law enforcement or was it military?
Nah, straight to the army, bro.
All right. Tell me a little bit about what inspired you to go down that route.
Since I was a little boy, I just used to read law books and stuff. Grandfather on my dad's side was in the British Army in World War II. So he had amazing stories all through Europe and North Africa. So I just grew up just really, really into them. On my mum's side, her father was in Vietnam and was section commander with 7RAR.
Yeah, very cool. And tell me a little bit about your experiences and what made you go down the route of going to the army. Did you finish year 12 and then go? Was that always the plan?
Yeah, pretty much. So my parents are really nice, happy, good people. My dad's really, really tall, so he probably never had to have a fight or anything when he was a kid. And I'm a bit smaller, so I sort of had to brawl my way through as I grew up. And parents are sort of pretty free-loving and relaxed sort of thing. And I think I just ended up craving structure.
When you went to the army, did you know what you wanted to join as? What did you enlist as?
Yeah, so I joined up, so in my army career, I've been both Royal Australian Infantry and Royal Australian Army Corps. So Rifleman, recon and surveillance in the infantry, and then in the Army Corps, I've driven tanks, personnel carriers, so Leopards and Abrams and M113s and M113 AS4s. And done a bit of deployments, mainly in peacekeeping sort of role, and then also border protection.
Yeah, very cool. Tell me a little bit about going to Kapooka for the first time, your first experiences going into the army.
Yeah, so I was so eager to join the army. My mum with me, she knew I was going to do it, but tried to push me the officer sort of route. I just was not interested in that at all. So yeah, I went to Kapooka as a very skinny little 17-year-old. I played basketball my whole way through high school and stuff, so I'd never really never showered with dudes before. And first day at Kapooka was a bit of an eye-opener.
Yeah, 100%. How did you find the training? Obviously, you played a bit of basketball, so you're a little bit used to doing a little bit of physical activity there. But how did you find going into Kapooka and, that structure that you craved, going from the household that you said was very relaxed, going to a very structured environment and being told what to do all the time?
Kapooka wasn't too bad. I enjoyed it. I think they were a bit harder, a lot harder on us than what they are now. But then I'm sure the guys in the 80s will say the same thing about how they treated us. It was an eye opener. But I was just so excited. I was finally living my dream. So I don't really remember that much about Kapooka. It was sort of just a flash. Probably it was once I got to School of Infantry and went to Singo. Is when I sort of had that, what the hell am I doing moments.
Yep. Well, do you remember any memorable moments from the School of Cool, as they call it?
Yeah, so at the school, I think it was Kokoda platoon, and we had long tan platoon, I think, on the parade ground straight in front of us. One day we were having a drill lesson. So we were all our attention and we're staring straight towards where the other parade ground is. So we were early on in our training, and the other dudes in that other platoon, they had just got back from exercise hardcore or something. So they've done 3 weeks outfield, and they're having a DP1 inspection. And just saw this section commander checking, like you take this barrel off the stire and he's seen like a speck of dirt through the barrel and he's just wrapped it around this dude's head. And that dude is just like, he's unconscious before he hit the ground. I'm like, yeah, little skinny 17-year-old, I'm going to die. But yeah, that's probably like that was the most craziest thing. And also, I think one Friday night, we were like allowed to go out in town. And, dude had his like plastic shirt in the dryer and it caught fire and our lines caught on fire. And
Jesus.
yeah, it's really funny. And so like everyone's like come back like pretty pissed and stuff. And then suddenly our lines are on fire. And then I think they had like the military fire brigade turn up. But they weren't allowed to put the fire out. They had to wait for the civilian fireys to like turn up. And then like if they ask them for assistance, so they can help put the fire out. So that was pretty funny.
Wow.
But yeah, that was about it for the sort of memorable stuff there.
Do you remember your march out? What you felt like marching out?
Yeah, so I got injured, and then sort of got to the point where I'd sort of like my career in the infantry like wasn't going to be able to progress. So I ended up, but I was like, if I'm going to stay in the army, I still need to do some way of seeking out the enemy and stuff. So yeah, I call transferred to Armored Corps. I went to Pucker, and yeah, that was pretty cool. Made some really good mates there, and yeah, march out there. Like I remember the dude I was really good mates with at the time. He had his family there, but my family wasn't there at that stage. Before I knew it, I've gone from freezing cold Puckapunyal in I suppose northern Victoria, and then I'm posted to Darwin. And yeah, I'd never been Darwin before and never really experienced that heat or anything like that. So yeah, I remember like in my first week we had some sort of parade and I like sputtered in.
Yeah, very different if you've never been here before and experienced that humidity that we get.
So yeah, I certainly had to acclimatise to that stage. Like I just remember waking up like Padre was giving me water and then some sergeant was yelling at me, telling me if we had said I went out on the piss the night before he's going to charge me, and I just had no idea what was going on. But yeah, that was it. After a couple of weeks you acclimatise and it's just normal.
Yeah, so what was your most memorable moments within, or your favourite job within the Armoured Corps? You said you'd driven a fair few different vehicles.
Because I was also a qualified rifleman, once I got to Armoured Corps, I spent most of my time actually doing infantry stuff, the exercises, stuff like that, and going rough company Butterworth, which is where you do all the jungle warfare training, the Malaysians and Singaporeans. That was pretty cool. Yeah, a few really, really big X's, and then did peacekeeping deployment as a rifleman, which was pretty awesome. Obviously the best thing about Army is the mates you have. Just this year, I caught up with my mate Richo. I hadn't seen him since 2007, and we caught up in Melbourne around the Anzac Day period, and like the conversation just picked up like that. No time had passed, and the defence is like a place where that's normal, and dudes just get you. Still got some really good high school mates and stuff like that, but probably the connection and the deepness just is next level when it's with your army dudes. So it's the friendships you make, it's brotherhood.
Yeah, I can't say that's a coincidence because pretty much everyone that I've had on that's some sort of emergency service or military has said exactly the same thing.
Yeah,
the friendships that you make, the camaraderie within these organisations, you just build a bond that's second to none, really.
Yeah, right.
Can we circle back a little bit and talk about the little bit of the jungle training that you did in Singapore, how you found that, like the differences between, you'd obviously been to Darwin, did a little bit of stuff in Darwin and Victoria. How did you find the jungle stuff there versus here?
Oh, it was cool, man. I grew up watching Platoon and stuff like that. So I was like, yeah, I'm like doing this. You're wet, you're hot, you're tired the whole time. Lucky for me, man, like I was like really, really fit. I was skinny though, so carrying the packs and stuff, but it's definitely taken its toll on the back. But yeah, it's we hanging out for the local league, getting into KL, and then some dudes went over to Thailand and stuff like that. So there's some epic stories I probably can't mention on here because there's some people who are still serving.
Yeah, fair enough. So how long did you spend in the army altogether?
Well, I'm still in now as a Circat 5, so I did have a break probably between 2012 and 2015. when I was cementing my career with people. But yeah, I think I joined 2002. So yeah, it's like 21 years now. So I suppose 18 years I sort of served. I still do anywhere between say 60 to 100 days a year.
So still quite active as well.
Yeah,
man,
yeah.
that's
I
really
won't
cool.
mention the end I'm in now, but we are very much a very active sort of unit. It's not like a normal reserve unit, so literally you can work any day you want to work. Go off and do live patrols.
Yeah, that's really cool. And what made you make that decision that it was time to leave the full-time army?
I'd met a pretty wonderful woman at that stage. So I was took a posting down back to Pucka to School of Armour to be in support squadron there. Basically, we were like living crews for like officers as they're doing their ROBC training and stuff like that, so they can already have a trained crew while they learn of how to command armoured vehicles and command armoured units and stuff like that. So I met this lady. She was from where I was from, and we decided to get married and have kids and that sort of stuff. So yeah, I was looking for more stability where I could sort of start having a family and that sort of stuff. So logical step from defence background to is, and someone who hadn't gone to university and things like that, or didn't have a trade, is to become a cop.
Yep. And which police force did you end up applying for?
So I went, moved back to Tassie and went into Tasmanian Police.
Nice. How did you find that Tasmanian recruit course compared to the military one? Was there any similarities?
So I'm not sure if they're still the same now, but when I went through, they used to want to have like at least 2 or 3 people per squad that had a defence background, just to sort of like, I suppose, help shape the cohort. So you can already teach them, sense of urgency, sort of discipline, helping with drill and all that sort of stuff. Because everyone else had either like just gone straight from high school or straight from like university sort of thing. But yeah, it was on my squad. I was the only one from the army, and there was a dude from the Air Force. But we ended up becoming like best mates. Like as soon as we met each other, it was just taking a sort of piss out of each other from him being rappy and me doing the dirty AJ. But yeah, we got along thick as thieves. Became like really, really, really good mates. And yeah, for me, because I lived that whole lifestyle of being in a team. It wasn't new to me, but for like most people on my squad, it was like really new and exciting. And for me, it was like, this is sort of novel. So like, it's probably stuff I paid off that, other people really, really, really enjoyed. But for me, it's like, oh yeah, I just want to get home on the weekend, see my fiance, no, she was my wife then. See my wife and that sort of stuff. So I sort of missed out on a lot of those, say, extracurricular activities. Probably the hardest thing was just the study. Like you had to know so much, legislation. I'm a dude, I would have to study from the moment I finished work till the moment I went to sleep. These other people, come straight from uni or whatever, they can study for 15 minutes at night, blitz an exam the next day, and go out to the pub and have a great time. Whereas I'm like, no, I just got to concentrate on this and, just to come in the middle. And yeah, I was able to use that discipline that the army had taught me to discipline myself to do that and get through successfully.
Nice. And how long did you end up spending in the Tasmanian Police Force?
So 4.5 to 5 years.
Yep. Perfect. Can we talk about some of the roles that you did within the police force there?
So I graduated and then went to the north of the state and went straight on to what we call the Watch, which is general duties. I loved it. Like, it was the greatest show on earth. It was so exciting. Like, I just lived for being out on the road and stuff like that. Worked on a few different shifts on the Watch. Had some fantastic leaders, had some not so fantastic ones. The thing I found I loved about Taspol was all your sergeants and stuff. They'd been sergeants for like 10, 15 years. These dudes were like, they knew their trade craft. So it was very, very it was very professional. You held to a sort of pretty high standard, but probably coming with that, yeah, the leadership. Like if you had to ask your sergeant was giving you a direction. They were making the right decision. They knew exactly what they were doing. So yeah, there's a few absolute standouts that I'm still really really close to and catch up when I go down and see my parents and things like that. Yeah, so I spent most of I'm a uniform cop at 3 like detective work is boring. I know it's great and it needs to be done, and there's some people that just their mind is so built for that, but mine's the thrill of the hunt.
So you're more frontline policing.
Yeah, man. I want to chase dude down, grab him, make an investigator later. Yeah. So with that sort of mentality, I sort of went towards traffic police or road policing. The reason I did that was you're free from the radio. So yeah, you're off doing tickets and things like that and drink drivers, but you're free. So when something big comes over the radio, you're the first there. And I just absolutely love that. And I was really lucky I had a sergeant who understood that. And then I dealt with a partner that was sort of the same mentality. So yeah, we used to just go out and just really go get it and have an absolute ball. So go to work was fun.
Can we talk about some of your most memorable moments? Is there any stories that you can share from your time in the Tas Police?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you about my first dead body. It's pretty out there. I think I graduated and I was like 3 days in the job, and it's December in Tassie, and like everyone thinks Tasmania is just really cold and stuff like that, but in summer it gets like really nasty hot, and like the sun just burns you because hot nose and lays over there or whatever. So it's this hot summer Sunday. Hot summer afternoon, and radio calls come out. The ambulances attending sudden death. So police have to turn out. My sort of senior partner at the time that was sort of teaching me said, "Come on, mate, it's time to pop a cherry. Let's go get a dead body." I'm like, okay, yep, cool. New experience. Need to do this. Let's do it. So we head out, and we get to this strange block of units, which turns out it's like a housing residential sort of thing for people or disabled people and stuff like that.
Yep.
So it might be someone's a quadriplegic, someone's got Down syndrome or whatever. So all these different types of people sort of living in this sort of one sort of area, which I didn't even know existed, even though I'd grown up in that town. So we go there and see the ambulance, and then see the ambos sort of just standing next to the ambulance, and they're looking pretty sorry for themselves. And we get out, and my partner sort of, while you're learning, you sort of stand back a little bit, let your partner sort of take charge.
Yep.
And so you're learning, watching how they interact, how they do things. So partner's talking to them, and they're like, look, we can't really explain it to you. You're just going to have to go and have a look. Anyway, it had like a little lattice sort of fence, and probably like 6 meters from the fence to the front door. And I've just got to that fence and just poof, smell of death. It's just bang, it's just hit you, and it is so thick and so rancid. Anyway, go inside, and this is the strangest sight ever. There is a very, very decomposing overweight body in a chair, which has sort of now become part of the chair and part of the wall. Fingers like these big oozing green sausages, lips just like gigantic, like those people whose Botox has got really, really, really wrong. And the neck sort of like collapsed, and the head side looks like it's becoming part of the chest. And yep, that's pretty hard, and I am dry reaching by this time. Like, it was that bad that I got cigarette butts and stuck them on my nose, like to try and stop it. Anyway, that's not actually the worst thing that was inside that house. Right next to the dead body was this dude in a wheelchair who's alive, drinking Tui's red cans, just sitting there with a carton, just sitting next to this dead body, drinking cans. And then there's this Down syndrome lady just sort of pottering around the house. And you're sort of like, what?
Yeah, what is going on?
Yeah, like, how could these people be inside this place?
I've spelt my fair share of decomposing and dead bodies. It's not nice. I don't understand how someone can stay in a room like that. That's hard to grasp, to be honest.
Right. Yeah, it was so disgusting. Anyway, try and work out who these people are. So the dude in the wheelchair doesn't live at this house, but the Down syndrome lady does. So it turns out the Down syndrome lady and the deceased person, I think, live together. And then the wheelchair dude is like the deceased dude's best mate. And it took forever, like, trying to work out what we're seeing and how this version of events has occurred. It looks like wheelchair dude, deceased dude meet up each morning. They give the Down syndrome lady the money. She goes to the bottle shop. She buys the beers. She comes back. They sit there all day and drink. That's their daily routine. But old mate has died at some stage, and by the looks of things, he's been dead for weeks, at least, like at the minimum weeks. Like it could have been way longer. But old mate in the wheelchair still comes back each day to get his beers, right? And the lady, is still going off and doing the routine. Anyway, trying to get you have to get the initial sort of information before detectives turn up, to start the coronial process and all that sort of stuff. And trying to talk to this lady, because the dude in the wheelchair, he didn't care. Like, he didn't actually seem like he had any brain issues. It's just that he was obviously paraplegic or something.
Yep.
But the lady, she was obviously had cognitive difficulties. But trying to talk to her, you're trying to work out, when was the last time, asking really simple questions, when was the last time he moved? When was the last time you talked to him? And, she'd sort of say, oh, I knew he was a bit sick, sort of thing. But it was basically at the point where his head started collapsing into his chest that she's decided to call 000 because she said he was sick. Anyway, we get them out. Things happen. The coronial ambulance sort of turns up. And there's the ambulance dude is mortuary ambulance driver sort of turns up, and the forensics and that sort of stuff. And because I'm the brand new probie, I get the great job of having to put the body in the body bag. And as soon as that sort of started up, it's just liquid. It's just horrid.
Yeah, it's
and
not nice.
You just vomit it into your mouth the whole sort of time. And this is one of those ones where you're throwing away your uniform after that job. You ain't gonna ever get rid of that smell.
That smell lasts forever. I remember one of the last bodies that I went to. I was there with the police, and this is back in my locksmith days when I used to go and unlock houses with deceased people inside them or people they wanted to do welfare checks on. I opened it up, and the police have got there, and they're getting Vaseline, and they're putting it under their nose to stop the smell, and they've put it on themselves and just walked down. where's mine?
Yeah. So mortuary evidence dudes rocked up, and then we've got the body in there, man. I'm green. I'm just so that. I've never seen anything as rancid as that. And as you know, we've got the body bag into the mortuary ambulance and stuff. Mortuary ambulance driver's gone, because he obviously knows who the coppers are, and could tell that I'm obviously brand new straight out of the academy. And he's like, oh, you're really lucky. And I'm like, why? How am I lucky? How the hell am I lucky? He goes, mate, you've done it. You're not going to get a body worse than that. I'm like, oh, really? Are you sure? You promise? And so anyway, that happens. Finish the shift, bio-waste my uniform, and go home and shower, scrub. Anyway, I'm completely clean. There is no way there is anything on me, right? And then I can't get rid of the smell.
Yep.
It is just disgusting. And I'm starting to get it's 2 or 3 days after, and I can't get rid of this smell. Anyway, get another dead body, but it's it was very normal one.
Recent.
Nothing I can remember particularly about except the conversation I had when the mortuary ambulance dude rocked up. I said to him, we go, hey man, how the hell do you do your job? That's horrible. And then I started telling him, going, I think I'm going insane. I can't get rid of this smell. And he goes, oh no, it's in your nostril hairs. I'm like, what? And he goes, you need to reburn your nostril hairs. When the smell's that acidic, it gets stuck in your nostril hairs and burns into them. All you need to do is reburn it. Here, have some eucalyptus oil. Bang. Oh, instant relief, man.
Yep.
Yeah. So that was my body. That was my welcome to death. Like, I mean, I'd seen some bad stuff in the army. I'd seen dead people. I'd seen some yucky sort of stuff. But
Yep.
yeah, this was like what horror movies try to do.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's important for the listeners out there. I know you've gone into a fair bit of detail, probably a lot more than a lot of our other guests have.
Sorry.
But no, it's good. But this is why I try to do this, because this is the reality of what they're going to get on occasions. I mean, this is not an everyday occurrence by any means, but this is the reality of what's going to happen in these roles, and people need to understand that it's a very good possibility one day in these roles you're going to come across something like this.
Yeah.
And it's just not spoken about. Like, you see all these ambulance shows, they don't show that on these shows, or all the police shows that you see on TV. But it's the reality of what can happen sometimes. So it's good. I appreciate you going into detail and sharing, because I think it's important for people to know. Any other stories you can tell us?
Yeah, man. Like, anyone who knows me, like, knows my heart's on my sleeve. Like, I call a spade, and tell anyone who wants to know anything, this sort of thing. I'm pretty open book. So yeah, man. If I overshare, let me know, bro. All right. So yeah, I joined the cops because there's going to be gunfights and car chases, and sometimes that stuff happens, but it's like very, very few or far between. You do a lot of mundane stuff, like taking reports because someone's letterbox got nicked the night before and things like that.
Yep.
Some of my most memorable ones. So, for my first 2 years as a copper, including my probationary year, I had the highest arrest rate in the state. Like, I lived for it, man. And I went to like an out of control house party one night, and one of my mates was the acting sergeant. He was pretty cool dude. Anyway, there was these there's a few people from let's say like North Africa there, and they were causing a few issues. So my mate that's the acting sergeant has sort of started reading the riot act about how the party's over, time to go sort of thing. And he, by accident, has pointed his finger like directly in one of these dudes' faces, which in their culture is like an absolute no-no. Like, it's a really, it's a challenge to a fight. You really insulted him, sort of thing. So he's done that inadvertently, like sort of just trying to show his authority, de-escalate it or whatever. And the dude's just gone, like, lunged at him and tried to bite his finger off. And so, we're in a wrestle, we've got him cuffed. So back then, we used to only have one divvy van per shift. The rest of us just had like Commodores and Falcons. And you didn't have any of the plastic perspex sort of thing. So it was just a sedan car. And either the divvy van was at another job, or it already had people in the back of it from that party or whatever. But for some reason, we had to put him in the back of our car. And so obviously, the acting sergeant and the dude we've arrested isn't probably going to be the best person to be sitting next to him. So he's driving, and I'm in the back seat with the dude. So he got him handcuffed, behind his back, and seatbelt over him, right? And then I'm just sitting there. That's what the security is. I put the child lock on. Like, it's pretty. It's not like the American cop cars and stuff like that. I'm sure things have upgraded now, but back then, it was just a sedan with locks on it, really. So we're driving down the sort of a main road, and stopped at sort of traffic lights. And old mate's decided to kick off, and he's just started spitting, and he's trying to like bite at me and stuff like that. And so I've ended up like pulling his shirt over his sort of head to like stop him from being able to bite me and spit me, and all that sort of we're wrestling around. I'm on top of him, sort of thing. And because we're in a sedan, a minivan has sort of pulled up next to us of people from that
party.
Yeah. And there's cop on top of their mate. Looks like I'm sort of pouting him, sort of thing. Like, that's just because he's thrashing me out. I'm trying to sort of keep it under control. And so they're like all like out, looking at us, going like mental sort of stuff. Anyway, we light goes green, off we go. We get back to the police station. It's pretty funny. And like this dude, like, you know, get him into the holding cell, and he's just kicking off. He's just going bonkers. And anyway, the sergeant sort of, you know, starts making a bit of a joke about what that would have looked like for the people that had pulled up next to us, sort of thing. Anyway, for some reason, you know, sort of like, the TV show The Shield was like really big back then.
Yeah, okay.
That'll make sense later on. And yeah, so we've got mate taking him into the up to the charge counter, to the custody sergeant, and it's a very different system than other jurisdictions sort of have. So we have a remand centre attached to the police station. So when you lock someone up, they just have to, like, the sergeant either like accept the charge or doesn't. And if they accept the charge, they go straight into their remand centre, and the prison dudes are looking after them. So that was great for us. So the prison dudes would all be at the door waiting, because we would have to. It's a really weird system. It's like from I don't know if you remember the TV show The Bill. Like, it's really old fashioned. You bring the dude up to the charge counter, and they're still kicking off and being horrible and all that. And you go, Sergeant, this is such and such. I've charged him with such and such, or I've arrested him with such and such because he did X, Y, Z, A, B, C, D, sort of thing. And the sergeant will sort of go, you know, work out whether I've met my points of proof for the offence that I want to charge or arrest that person for. Yep. And sergeant will go, yep, no worries, I accept that charge. And then you just see this door just open, and all these big prison guards just come in, and so they just grab it, because we'll have to, we'll be wrestling our crook while we're having to go through his procedure of saying why we've got this dude. It's really hilarious.
Yeah,
it's really
different.
Yeah, it is really different. But so you're like wrestling them, but you know that there's like 5 or 6 prison guards like right behind that door, and as soon as like they sort of see the sergeant's accepting it, they just come in and like, yeah, throw your prisoner sort of to them. And then, because as soon as they get them, like, because they're going into a prison, right, they get fully stripped. You know, like they're completely naked. You know, big deep squats and all that sort of stuff.
So they're in the prison close. They're basically in the prison system. Then they're out of your care.
Sort of, yeah.
Wow.
And then like once they sober up or whatever enough to answer bail or whatever, they come back out and they sign the charge sheet, or, you know, and this is when you go to court or whatever. Or if we're opposing bail, you know, then they go straight from prison into court, and into court the next day, or we'll get them out of hours magistrate or whatever. But yeah, so it was actually quite an efficient system, apart from the dangerous part where you're having to say what this person has done while they're still kind of kicking off.
Yeah, wow. So it's not really like a watch house situation, is it?
Nah, because it's run by the prison.
Yeah,
so
wow.
It's good like that. So we just have a charge counter and then straight through.
In.
So if they do, though, for something simple, you know, like arrested someone for shoplifting, not opposing bail or anything, you know, they're not a danger to society or whatever right now, and I think they're going to turn up to court. We just go in, this is what I've arrested them for, and sergeant accepts the charge, here's your bail sheet, turn up to court in 6 weeks. Boom, done. So quick.
Yep.
Yeah, so very different from what I ended up having to do in my next jurisdiction.
Yeah, which we'll talk about very shortly.
Yeah,
that's very interesting. Very, very different to what I've been exposed to up here with the police.
Yeah.
All right.
So at the end of that situation with that sort of person, we go up to the we used to have like a bar in the police station. You finish your shift and you go a couple of beers or whatever as a team, and sort of decompress and stuff before you go home, or, you know, things like that. And anyway, we go up there, and they just had, you know, like a random music playlist on. Billy Ray Cyrus, "Achy Breaky Heart" comes on, right? And man, like, anyone knows me, like, I'm like full gangster rap, you know. I love my hip hop, and so I definitely ain't a Billy Ray Cyrus fan. But because of the situation that's happened beforehand with me and this dude from like a North African country, for some reason, the acting sergeant has then gone, redneck, Billy Ray Cyrus, redneck, boof, Billy Ray. I just got named Billy Ray, and the more like I was like, oh, I'm not Billy Ray, I hate country music, I'm not redneck. And right, so the more I argued about it, the bigger the name sort of stuck. And yeah, so for lots of people who met me early in my career, my name was Billy Ray.
Wow.
And it was that bad that people that say hadn't really worked with me but knew about me, they actually thought that was my name.
Oh, jeez. Far out.
Yeah. So that was pretty funny. Yeah, so yeah, got it right amongst it. Worked at a few stations. So we used to have a station in a pure trash sort of suburb where nobody really has jobs, and it's just generational.
It's a very low socioeconomic
Low
area.
socioeconomic, yeah, like
Rough neighbourhood.
you're looking past the grandparents' generation for someone that's actually held a job in the sort of family. And don't get me wrong, there are some amazing people that live there in little sort of islands, but in general, this place it's hard. It's a tough place to police. So there's a station there, and you'd have about 3 or 4 people, and like, if you're working in the watch, you'd end up at jobs in this place or back in the market and vice versa. So you work with these people sort of all the time. So I did a bit of a comment over there, and yeah, it was hectic. You got dudes on dirt bikes just going up and down the main strip the whole time. And in summer, everyone would bring their couches and stuff out onto the sort of footpaths, and the local hoodlums would then come do burnouts out front of the police station and try and get us to come and pursue them, and through these areas sort of stuff, and the whole neighbourhood would just come out and like cheer it
and just watch it.
Yeah, it was like their entertainment. It was hilarious.
Gosh, I've never heard of that before. That's different.
Yeah, so that TV show Bogan Hunters, and yeah, he saw like 3 of the biggest, I think the top bogans in Australia came from places like that. So it's pretty out there. But at night time, man, she'd get pretty like hairy. Like, if you go to a house party or something, they'll turn on you. So you got to be like really careful with how you sort of interact with people, because there's a lot of hard dudes who weren't afraid. And when I'm saying like hard dudes, I'm talking like these dudes are proper criminals. Like, they're very proud of their criminality. There's dudes that like literally, we're still like safe breakers and stuff like that. Dudes who've done armed robberies, knocking over payrolls and things like that. Like proper crooks. There was shotguns, there were guns, and there'd be a proper homicide. At least every couple of months, sort of stuff. Where there's people that just disappear, and never to be found. Or, found 4 or 5 years later. People would get like other crooks would abduct another crook and then like torture him for days and days on end and stuff, and doing some really 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 nasty sort of stuff to each other. So yeah, that was not just this sleepy little tourist sort of place. Like, it's got if anyone knows stuff about Tassie, like, it's got a dark past, man. There's some dark stuff that sort of happened there, and it sort of has carried on. But in saying that, like, some of those crooks, you could have a bit of a gentleman's sort of understanding sort of thing. So, you go to arrest them, and you'd have a decent role. They resist arrest, you would have to match their force sort of thing. But in the end, like, if you get cuffs on them, the proper crooks will be like, all right, you got me. And, I wouldn't bother charging them with resist arrest or assault police sort of thing. And, they would respect me the next time sort of thing. Whereas this day and age, that stuff doesn't happen anymore. But these guys, like, because quite a few of them come from that older sort of thing, like that, they'll go you. And if they get the upper hand, they're going to use it. But at the same time, like, like, once you've got them, they'll say, yeah, right, fair cop.
Yep. You've done your job, well, I've done mine,
Yeah, that's it. And, if you're like really, really gung-ho and you treat them like crap, they're going to remember that. And next time they get the drop on you, man, you're not going to end up in a good place. But, other times, you sort of be able to, they'll remember that interaction you had with them 6 or 8 months when you go to lock them up next time or something, and, you might not actually have to end up in that sort of tussle sort of thing, because they go, yeah, all right, this guy actually stands his ground, he's all right, he treated me not too bad, all right, you got me.
Yep, and I guess that comes down to professional courtesy and being professional in the way that you act when you interact with these people. I mean, in the end, whatever career path they've chosen, whether good or bad, I guess they're still people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you got to treat them as such.
Oh, dude, crooks are people too, and if you can learn to show a bit of compassion and understand like why that person's the way they are, what's happened to them beforehand.
Exactly.
If you can sort of emphasize a bit, show a bit of emotional intelligence, you can get so much further with that. And that's something I sort of like, I think is a bit of a lost art now. It is sort of few and sort of far between. And I noticed that because I ended up being a shift sergeant, and some of the now younger sort of people that come through, they don't have that sort of emotional intelligence or that life experience to sort of draw from. So, like, how can you be 19 and then telling a husband and wife that have been married for 25 years who are having hard times, that maybe they had a stillborn, maybe they had, if husband's lost a job, they're not making their mortgage repayments. How can you try and give them advice when you've never experienced or had to deal with any of that sort of stuff?
Yeah, which I found very strange, because a lot of the time, back in the day, the police officers, most cops would, come in at 24, 25, the life experience. Now you see them 19, 18 coming into police and missing out on a lot of that life experience that being in that profession requires, or at least it's a hell of an advantage to have.
They will get that. They'll get that through the job, but they're going to struggle for the first few years. And that's why, like, you'll notice it's very rare these days that you'll have someone that'll be a career general duties copper anymore. Whereas, like, when I started, the people that would do that would wear that with a badge of honour.
Yeah.
And now people come out and they get out of the academy and like all they want to do is get off the road rather than like make the most of it. Like, because the way I see it, when you're a GD cop, you can make a direct impact on a person's life at that moment. You can literally change a person's life. Each day you put on that uniform, you go out, whether it be for better or worse, but you can do that. And if you look at that and you respect that, you can make a good positive impact on the world. Just back to sort of like the crooks and empathizing and stuff. And look, I'm a bit old school where I still call people crooks, because when I started, the dudes that they were proud of it. They were proud of that, and that's fair enough. Some were really good at it, and then some weren't. There's this one dude. Every time I'd be walking the beat, I run into him. I knew that as soon as I saw him, I'm like, I know that if I search this dude, he's gonna have drugs on him every single time. And like each time he'd see me walking towards him, he'd just be like shaking his head, going, "Oh, not again!" Like, because he just couldn't help himself. So he was a bad drug dealer. Yeah. Because I just look at him like, all right, I know I'm going to get gear of this dude. Yeah, I'm going to gear of this dude, sort of thing. And that was, but I ended up having a soft spot for this dude, like it got to the stage where I wouldn't even obviously I'd end up searching him properly, but it got to the stage where I'd just turn up and he'd just hand it to me.
Yep. Yeah, here you go. Yep.
But that's because, like the way I sort of treated him and stuff, like he knew that I was doing my job and sort of thing. And like this dude would sell drugs to kids and shit. So, like I'll be nice to him, but like I'm not going to let you do it. And I'm going to stop you every time I sort of see it. But yeah, like, you sort of get that sort of, you get the sixth sense for people. But yeah, so you can have that gentleman's agreement with some dudes, but there are other dudes that are just bad. They're like, sometimes you do come across dudes who are evil. And no matter what, no matter how you try to emphasize, no matter how you try to interact with them, respectful or authoritative or whatever, you ain't going to get through to them. Like, they are just bad. In general, I would say like most people, even if they've gone down the criminality road, they've still got some good in them. But there are some dudes who are just really, really bad. And when you deal with them, when you come across them, man, like that is scary. Like that is very, very, very scary. And you gotta put your armor up, man. You gotta show your cold face. You gotta give them no in for them to exploit, to intimidate you, and you'll be in your boot, shivering in your boots, but you cannot show that. You cannot show that at all. So yeah, there's a few really, really hard dudes that have killed, and you can see it in their eyes. And yeah, that's when you're in presence with people like that, it's pretty fun.
Yeah, far out. All right, is there a specific interaction that comes to mind when you say that? Something that you can share with us?
Yeah. So I mean, there's a few. I remember like taken this very, very hard dude over to the remand centre. Yeah, we had the remand centre, but then to take him from remand to the court, we had to do that. You're waiting in this tiny little hallway between the remand centre and the actual court with all the prisoners that are in lockup to go see the magistrate, see if they get bail, that sort of stuff. And it's pretty full-on sort of place, and I'm in there. And it's just me and this I think it might have been it was a female cop or something, and both of us are like pretty young and pretty, not big dudes, or not big people, sorry. And there was like 6 or 8 prisoners, and they were like, one of them, I won't mention his name, but he was very, very, very intimidating and like hates cops, like literally, like, his blood, or would sort of do his blood boils as soon as he sees you. So, and proper crooks, they can see a brand new probie straight away, and then they will just own that and do everything they can to sort of intimidate you. So yeah, I just remember like that was a really intimidating sort of situation to be in, because you don't have a firearm or anything. All you got is your baton and your pepper spray and your cuffs. We didn't carry tasers or anything like that back then. So remember, this dude just like having to put up with it for like half an hour before he'd gone in and out, sort of thing, and he's showing off in front of his cohort, sort of thing. And yeah, you sort of like, at any time if they decide to actually get up and go, we're not going to be able to stop them. But anyway, you sort of got to try and remain professional, remain authoritative. There's time and place to come in at a lower level, and there's times where you just have to maintain that higher sort of thing and try and keep this person sort of in their place. But yeah, I'll move on. I had a couple of I had a few crazy sort of situations. So I was in traffic, and I was in this suburb, again, another low socio-economic one, and I was looking for, like, I had the ANPR camera on, that would pick up unregistered, disqualified, that sort of stuff. And going around a roundabout, and this car goes past me, the camera picks it up, it's a qualified driver, and I think he had warrants or something. So I go around, and he sees me come around the roundabout, he just guns it. And so I go off after him, sort of thing, and like he's flying, and we're in the suburban sort of thing. So yeah, I think it was like in early afternoon or something like that. I think it might have been a weekday, so the streets weren't too busy. And I sort of lost the car, and then I see it like dumped in this driveway, and then see him hop over a fence. So I'm like, oh yeah, radioed in and all that, and everyone sort of started making their way towards me. So I've pulled up next to it, blocked his car, and my car jumped over the fence, gone off after him. Got onto the next street. It's like a really, really, really long street. Look left, look right. Can't see him anywhere. Oh, crap. Oh, I lost him. Oh, well, he won. I've got the car. I'll get towed. Live to fight another day. And instead of jumping back over, because the fence I jumped was pretty big, and decided, instead of jumping back over, I'll just walk around the block and come back to it. So I'm walking down the street, and then I hear this car just like absolutely gunning it towards me. Like, I can hear it, but I can't quite see it yet. But this car is just going, what's going on here? And so I've just stood on the side of the road and just watching, waiting for this car, because all I'm doing is like, I'm just trying to like look in and go, is this my dude? And I'm looking and I'm looking and I'm looking. This car's coming closer and closer and closer. It's flying, and then it's sort of slowed right down. And I still haven't because I'm just like, my brain's just focused on trying to ID this driver, not really paying attention to everything else, right? So the car's coming, and I'm just trying to like look in and see this, and see who the driver is. And then I recognise him, and he comes up basically parallel to me, and it's slowed right down. He's staring at me, I'm staring at him, and then he reaches over, and he had this sawn off 22. It had it must have been some sort of automatic, because it had a bit of a banana clip on it, so it might have had like 10 or 15 rounds or whatever. And it's just pointed at me, and I'm literally like almost a metre away from him.
So less than 2 meters.
Yeah, bro. Like he called me slipping. He called me slipping. I mean, we don't wear body armor and stuff, and like you have that in your car, but you're not wearing it when you're just doing your normal job. And he's done that. And then I realised that there's 2 kids in the back seat of the car as well. And I'm like, oh, shit. And so time froze. And I'm like, what do I do? If I reach for my gun, he's got a clear shot at centre of mass. Like, he ain't going to miss me. And I was like, all I can do is just hit the ground. And then I went to hit the ground. And it felt like it took 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That it felt like it took that long. Obviously, it would have just been, like that.
Yep.
But it felt like it took an eternity. I hit the ground and he sped off. I radioed in sort of stuff, and everyone had started flooding this suburb eventually. And anyway, I go back to where my car is. My sergeant's rocked up, the cavalry's arrived, sort of thing. Like, I'm pretty freaking shaken. Like, I nearly died.
Yep.
And then I got this insane feeling of anger, and like started visualizing like my own funeral, my kids crying there and stuff like that. I was like so angry. Anyway, because there's still other cops everywhere else. Like, I think about 4 or 5 have made it to where I was, but then like everyone in the city's basically made their way there. Like, it was, when you put out a fucking call like that, everyone drops whatever they're doing and gets there. Like, there's forensic dudes in the office that are suddenly jumping in their 4-wheel drive and making their way to get there. So I guess we sort of ended up locking down the suburb, and I sort of stayed with my car and his car, because it's now a crime scene.
Yep.
And anyway, someone, I can't remember whether I only got the description of the car I saw with the dude and the kids and the rifle, or whether I got the rego. But anyway, someone's found the car. One of the other coppers driving around has found the car. So the sergeant told me, he's going, like, all right, we found it. And so everyone sort of made their way towards this street. It's like 2 or 3 streets away from where the initial car had been dumped and my car was. So I think one of the forensics dudes decided he was staying there in his garden, the cars. And then I went up with them. And so the sergeant's like, hey, Benny, look, you're staying out of this one, man. You just stay out on the street. You've had,
You've done enough.
You've done enough.
Yep.
We've got this, brother. And anyway, I'm like, the dudes are going in, they've surrounded this house sort of thing, and I'm just on the street. I'm looking along, see this dude walking towards me. He starts yelling. He starts going bonkers. It's my dude. Oh. Anyway, so I've jumped on him, I've cuffed him and all this sort of stuff. And the rest of the team's gone into this house and found this massive hydro setup. He was trying to keep us away from the hydro.
Yeah, right.
So I ended up getting like all these, I never went in the place, so I can't remember how much was in there. But, I found this hydro set up, and, he'd gone somewhere else to a mate's house, changed clothes and all that sort of stuff. And then was like, realised that we'd worked out where he was, and we were about to get all these drugs.
So he's trying to sacrifice himself for his setup. He was trying to start
a fight with me to stop everyone from going in there.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but I managed to get him, so that was pretty good. Yes, that was pretty hectic. Anyway, strange version of events. Way after that, my mum's a teacher, right? And she teaches at the TAFE, and she ended up knowing who the person was.
Wow!
Right, because one of their family, I can't remember who it was, but one of their immediate family was one of her students. How full circle, like, they go about Tasmania and being little and all that. How full circle is that?
Far out,
yeah, it's pretty ironic. But yeah, that was that one.
Do you remember how you felt when you got home, when you had time to decompress and actually, revisit the events?
Yeah, so that one was one of those ones where you didn't come down from adrenaline high for a long time. Like, I can't remember how long, but it was ages, and I remember I was like completely like zapped after it. Because I used to want that stuff. I used to want to go out there and get amongst it, like be in all the high tempo sort of action. But I think that one's pretty humbling, because it told me I was slipping. Like, I let my guard down because I just got focused on one thing of IDing the driver. I mean, If he wanted to, he could just ram me. He could have just run me over. But I didn't even think of that as a threat. I was just so focused on one thing, and that was, is that driver my guy?
So a bit of a reality check as well.
100%, dude. Yep. So it made me like, dude, like, don't you ever get caught slipping like that again? Like, because, that was so close. If he had the absolute power to have ended my life right there and then. and thank God he didn't. So yeah, that was a very humbling experience.
Jeez.
Yeah, so I've got another good one from there just before we move on. Me and my mates call it the St. Leonard's Chainsaw Massacre.
Say that again.
We call it the St. Leonard's Chainsaw Massacre.
All right, go for it.
Don't worry, no one died. But yeah, so I am now at the stage where I'm like the senior partner. I've been doing the job for a few years. I've got a good rep, hard worker, the guy I get amongst it. And I got this dude from the academy, and he was really switched on. He was an older guy, and he was good. He I'm sure right now he's still a brilliant cobbler. And even in his early days, you can see this dude is like natural police. Like he's not. I think a lot of people do it now for a job, and informal school or whatever, and I get a gun. But like some dudes do it for a corn, and that dude was one of them. So me and him, we get called out to this suburb to a domestic, and it's sort of like a semi-rural sort of fringe line from between the country and suburbia. So bigger blocks, bigger houses, that sort of stuff. Anyway, we rock up, and there's this woman and this teenage girl sort of standing at the end of the driveway, and they've both got blood all over them. And obviously some pretty nasty domestic violence has sort of been happening. Anyway, the absolutely catatonic, distraught sort of thing, and we're like the first attenders. Everyone else is sort of in the city, but we probably have like a backup unit on its way or whatever. And the lady ends up telling us, hey, look, my husband or partner or whatever, he's gone absolutely ballistic. It's obviously clearly he's beaten the crap out of her and the teenage girl. And she's like, my teenage son's upstairs and he's locked himself in the bedroom, and I think, he's trying to get to him. He's trying to, the kid's barricaded himself in his room, and the partner or whatever is just gone absolutely bonkers. Anyway, we start going down this long internal sort of driveway and come to this house, and it has like I think a house in a square or whatever, and it's on like a sort of sloping sort of block. So there's like a big veranda around the whole house sort of thing. And as we're getting close to it, all the lights just go out. And like, okay, and then you start hearing this chainsaw revving up. It's like, what the hell? So you're like, you're hearing chainsaw, man, like guns out straight away. Anyway, get to the front door sort of thing. It's all like locked up, deadlocked or whatever. I'm not going through that. So we make our way up the left side of the sort of veranda, and it's really, really tight. Like it's like as wide as this sort of.
It's about just over a metre sort of thing.
Yeah. So me and my partner can't walk side by side. We're sort of offset. So I'm the second partner, I'm up front. I've got a gun. And he's holstered at this stage, but obviously ready to go. Anyway, we hear the chainsaw as we're going up there, and then we're just short of the apex of the, I suppose, where the back of the house veranda meets the left side of the house veranda, and there's this dude like right there in front of us, probably like 4 or 5 meters away from us. And he's seen us. He's got his chainsaw, but it's not just a chainsaw. It's got one of those extensions on it for like doing on like hedges and stuff like that. So this chainsaw thing's got like it's a full chainsaw blade.
It's a pole saw, yeah.
A pole saw, yeah,
yep.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, sweet. Yeah, so he's got this pole saw and a candid VB, and he's turned around to us and he's sort of done a few sort of at us, and I've sort of backed up into my partner. I mean, I've got this dude at gunpoint. I'm like, please put it down. Please put the chainsaw down. Put the weapon down. Please get on the ground. All that sort of stuff. And this dude's just going, fuck you, and going off his head. And he's lowered the chainsaw slightly, and he's grabbed the can of VB. He's gone for this. He's had this swig, and he's looked at us, and he's gone, fucking shoot me. Shoot me, you bastards, because you didn't do it properly last time. And I'm like, you're not sort of computing, you're just yelling at him, just put it down. And because we're so tight, this thing, like we are trying to slowly back away, but we can't do it. So if he decides to run at us, there's no way we can get out in time. So I've made the decision, all right, this is my line in the sand. If he comes and he crosses that point, I'm going to have to drop him. And So, I've started, my finger is on the trigger. I've started taking up my trigger pressure, and I'm like, I'm going to have to shoot him, when he comes at us. And at this time, you've hit the panic button. It's live mic. So everyone in the city is coming there. And you can hear the sirens sort of getting closer and closer. But every person after this happened, they were convinced the next thing they were going to hear was pop, pop. But everyone was convinced that I was going to shoot this dude, because I was yelling, negotiating, and all this sort of stuff, and it was getting nowhere. And after he made those sorts of threats, he lowered the pole saw slightly, has this swig, starts to take a step sort of towards us, and my partner just reaches over my shoulder and just gives him a full can of gas. And it just sort of startled him enough that he fell back, and thank God, the chainsaw fell off the freaking balcony.
Oh,
so he
lucky.
lost his weapon. So then we're just straight upholstered, and we're just straight in onto him, got him. I think he had a knife on him once we got him and stuff, but it was good. But I was so lucky. If I had had a junior probie that didn't have life experience, they would have just been shitting their boots. But this guy had because I couldn't. It was in that situation. I'm so engaged with this threat that I can't go, gas him, sort of thing. But yeah, this dude did it without having to be told. He read the situation, man, and he did the absolutely right thing. And if he hadn't have done that, there is absolutely no doubt in my mind that would have been a officer involved shooting.
Yeah, and that's comes down to experience as 100%. Well, knowing, looking for that opportunity and knowing how to act. And I wouldn't say it's common, but I've seen it on multiple occasions where, people want to die by getting shot by the police. So they try to provoke. Yeah. So they do get shot. 100%. It does happen.
Oh, look, once I got back to the station and then was able to look this dude up, read this warning about him, and he had legitimately been shot 3 or 4 years ago on the other side of the state. Did the exact sort of same thing. Had a standoff with police, charged at him, and they shot him. Obviously he survived it. But yeah, that happened. So my last 6 months staying in Tasmanian, just in my district, I'm pretty sure there was 6 shootings, officer involved shootings. So yeah, it isn't that quiet little place there's some proper policing goes on down there, and it's good, and there's some amazing cops. So yeah, that's I've got I could go on all day about different stories from them, but obviously
we'll move on. So tell me a little bit about, because from there I believe you moved to the Northern Territory Police.
Yeah, so unfortunately the state was going through a recession back then, and we got put on a pay freeze for 4 years or something. So you couldn't advance up any sort of pay scales. And, I was doing policing. I was working in the Army Reserve. My wife was a hairdresser, and she was running a family daycare. And we just couldn't get ahead, man. The pay wasn't that good. We were struggling. And then NT was recruiting laterals. And had pretty good pay and conditions. So yeah, I applied for it, and because I'd already lived in Darwin, so I knew what Darwin was like, had a bit of an idea of what I was getting myself into. I got accepted and packed up the family and moved up to Darwin.
Nice. How long did you end up spending in the Northern Territory Police Force?
So NT Pole, going on 10, 11 years.
Oh, so quite some time.
Yeah. So once I graduated from the academy, because I was a lateral and a 3 months course, I came out as a first class constable, and ended up finishing up as a sergeant, and then also acting senior sergeant. Nice.
Any stark differences between the Northern Territory Police Force and Tasmanian Police Force at that time?
Yeah. So NT Pole, once I got there, I found it was very, very junior. So the people in charge of you, were, I was used to having these sergeants being sergeants for 10, 15 years sort of thing. So most of the sergeants were either acting sergeants, or they were there was a few that had been doing it for a very, very long time and very efficient at it, but there was a lot that had just been newly sort of promoted, and I just sort of found that throughout all the rank structure, that everyone was either acting up a rank or had just been into that rank for not very long. So I understand that's because there is a high sort of turnover, and I mean, anyone who knows anything about what's been happening the last few years will understand that. But yeah, I was surprised at the equipment and stuff we had up here. Like it was pretty good. It was like, as soon as I got up here, I had a taser. Sweet. I came out of the academy and I was an authorised breath analysis operator to use the breath analysis machine. When I was in Tasmanian, only certain people could do that. And, like if you got a drink driver and you had no one that was BA qualified on your shift, you'd have to get someone called out to just come do a breath analysis sort of thing. Whereas I came out here, every officer could do that, which was great. It sort of went from 9mm Glocks to 40 cal Glocks, being able to take a shotgun out. We never had shotguns. And then obviously we ended up with, I was one stage walking, had an M4 platform, while I was, shift sergeant or whatever, stuff like that. So the equipment was good. Obviously, where the NT was going through the Impex boom and stuff at that stage, so there was good money and lots of federal money sort of came in. Spent a bit of time in just general duties at Darwin, but because of my background, especially with the military, I applied for the MPG, which was the riot squad, because I'd done all that sort of riot stuff and been in riots while I was in the army. I went straight to there, and it was awesome. Yeah, like because it had a fitness standard and stuff like that, you just got those more motivated people go to that sort of area, just by the pure fact that they'd passed fitness standard. It was good. I got to do some amazing things. I went to road trip down to Yulara at Ez Rock when the Royal Visit was on, and got to see Prince William and Kate, and climb Ez Rock at the time because you're allowed to do that back then, and all while at work. Got deployed all over the NT, different communities when they're having issues or whatever, and got to go to Brisbane for the G20 as part of the riot police contingent for that. So I got to work with New South Wales riot squad, with Queensland riot squad, that sort of stuff. So yeah, it was really good. And got lots of exposure to the TRG, the Territory Response Group. So got to meet some awesome dudes in that. And sort of, attend quite a few jobs sort of that we would hand over to them, and be more involved in sort of more higher and more risky sort of jobs than, that GDs, that's just a bit too much for sort of general duties. And obviously still being able to go back up and help, GDs with everything. Obviously riots aren't happening all the time, so generally, Friday, Saturday nights you're dealing with the party strip on Mitchell Street. But back then we had the numbers and we could really hit stuff with force.
Yeah, fair enough. Any memorable moments you can speak to?
Probably at an NT pile, my best time ever was once I became, so unfortunately, with the riot squads, I did a few years with that, but unfortunately the funding sort of ran out and the team got disbanded. So I went back to general duties, sort of policing, working in Palmerston, which is good. And then went over to Strike Force Trident, which is super high tempo, tracing violent property crime, but dealing with a lot of really recidivist sort of offenders and stuff. Lots of stolen cars. That was really high tempo. You go in and start work at 6:30 in the morning. You still be there at like 2:30, 3 o'clock in the next morning, and then have to come straight back and do it again. So rolling lots of warrants and stuff like that. It was good. I went that way to see if I wanted to go down the detective pathway, because at this stage I'm like a senior constable first class, so qualified as a sergeant, and sort of working out what way I want my career to sort of go. After that time there, I realised, you know what, I want to be the sergeant. So I went for promotion and ended up took a position at Catherine, which is a small station. It's 300 k's south of Darwin, and I moved down there and sort of was then able to have my own team, which is fantastic. Being shift sergeant down there would definitely be like the highlight of my career. So when I was at Catherine, like I you have a lot of very, very junior people, but I was lucky that the junior people I had were actually really, really good switch on people. So like every one of my constables in my team was very highly motivated. They were really receptive. They were eager, and it was just like working with them was just so much fun. They respected me, I respected them. We had a great time, and could really rely on each other. Had one probably sort of horrific sort of job that sort of ended up, I suppose, leading me to sort of crashing and burning after a while. So we ended up with a situation where a drink driver had accidentally, or a person hopped into a car and didn't realise it was in gear and gone to turn the ignition on to turn the stereo on at a house party. And there was two people sitting in front of it, and he ran them over. So we turned up to there, and obviously at this stage I'm aware that one person's trapped under this car. So I've gone under it and I've gone looking for signs of life, checking a pulse and stuff, and this person appears sort of dead. At this stage there is lots of people. There's this sort of house party in the front yard. There is drunk, intoxicated people sort of everywhere. At this stage probably I've maybe got there's probably like 4 cops and myself. And I'm sort of like, because my team's pretty junior sort of stuff, I'm doing all the exposing and trauma sort of stuff. So I'm under there, I'm checking for signs of life, and then I realise this second set of elbows under that person, and we're under a 4-wheel drive. So it's not a massive clearance. And then to realise that there's actually 2 people trapped under there. Like, just seeing that second set of elbows was just so surreal, and then realising that, so it was really, really nasty. Basically, the amount of intoxicated people just started getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and before you know it, there was like 100 people on the street, and we're having to clear them out of the front yard sort of thing. This is a crime scene, that sort of stuff. And obviously, intoxicated people obviously know that doesn't look good. It looks like these people are probably dead. There's high emotions and that sort of stuff. And obviously, seeing the uniform, we're a good way to direct your anger towards it. So we start getting, it's very, very loud. We're starting getting lots of abuse. I want to get in there. I want to go see them and that sort of stuff. And I was like, you can't, just stay back, sort of stuff. And basically ended up having to form a line and try and keep this area secured off, because firstly you got fire and rescue, have come. We got ambulances sort of come. We've got to protect them. There's missiles getting thrown at us, and rocks and bottles or whatever and stuff like that. We're going to sort of protect the fireys, protect the ambos from getting hurt, and I've got to try and protect my people as well. So the crowd turns very, very hostile on us, and we basically, we've got the big party packs, the foam packs. So at one stage, I'm just having to lean over my constables and just gas people as they start coming at us, sort of stuff. And because of the amount of people we have and the amount of people we're facing, you weren't really in a position where you could actually arrest anyone, because as soon as you take that person into custody, I'm going to lose 2 of my officers, sort of thing. So having to be really, really strategic about who I'm grabbing. So managed to get a van sort of parked next to us, and then it's just like sort of trying to work out who are the most hostile dudes, who are the one, who's the loudest, right? Because you get rid of the louder, more aggressive one, the other people sort of will
calm down a bit,
but these other people, while they're there, are going to continue to keep rising. And so I think I ended up working out like 2 or 3 people and got them in the back cage, sent that van off, and then basically had to give my team a crash course in clearing a street, like doing some full sort of like public order sort of stuff, which they would never have been trained in at this stage of how we're going to do that. So we basically had to, we went through, we cleared the street up to an intersection, then we'd have to hold that intersection for a while, then we'd have to advance. And so each time we sort of pushed them back a street or an intersection, the crowd would get a little bit smaller. This process took about probably 3 hours. So I was lucky whilst that was happening, the detective sergeant had rocked up and, taken over sort of crime scene and that sort of stuff. So that was, that side of stuff was being okay, but we had to deal with, our sort of social order, public order sort of stuff. Anyway, we get back to the station, and at this stage, I've worked out early on. I worked out that one of my constables actually related to one of the deceased.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So,
did they realise that at the time?
I reckon we've probably been there for about 5 minutes, and then yes. So but I couldn't afford to lose that member.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
I just put them in the backyard. It's like, man, just watch the fence line, make sure that no one comes in behind us.
Yep.
Okay. I'm so sorry, brother. We'll sort this out after. I'm so sorry, but I need you.
Yep.
I need you to, I can't afford to lose you, but as soon as we've got this done, man, I'll give you everything you need. And, and that person did exactly what I asked them to do. So I commend them for that. One of my team, I knew that he'd been a volunteer fiery, or actually, I think he'd been a firefighter before he became a copper. So I knew that he'd seen some bad stuff sort of thing. So I worked out, okay, for the nasty sort of stuff, I can probably expose him a bit more than the others. But I couldn't afford for anyone to just fall apart there and then, because it would make the teams weaker. And we were literally at breaking point.
And you're already thin on resources.
Absolutely. And in a town like that, it's hard to, you can't just call upon the next station, because the next station's 300 k's away. So I think,
yep.
So anyway, that happened, and I reckon I knocked off. I reckon I got home like 2:30, 3 o'clock that morning, and expecting that my shift wasn't going to start till 3 o'clock the next afternoon. So I got home, probably didn't sleep, the adrenaline and all that sort of stuff's up. I get a call just after 7 from the super, asking me if I can come in to run a search and rescue, as the day shift had started, and I think they'd gone to arrest someone who'd then gone and run into a river. And we're talking about crocodile-infested rivers. And the person hasn't been seen. So, this is bad, but the person running the shift at the time was like a constable first class. So we're talking someone that's probably got 4 years experience.
So very junior.
Very junior. Nothing on them, but this is a bigger sort of thing. We're starting to have to look at getting helicopters and stuff like that. So it's going to look, I know you had a bad night last night, but can you please come in? I need someone that I can rely on to come in and run this. I'm like, yeah, of course. So put everything the night before aside, go and run that, and then go do my shift. And I can't remember whether anything happened on that shift or not, but I basically had worked from now, say 7:30 in the morning till, let's go, 2 o'clock the next morning again. And then the next morning, I get rung at 10 o'clock in the morning. Same sort of thing has happened again. Someone's gone down into the river. Oh, actually, no, sorry. High-risk DV offender, they needed to go and arrest, and this person's run, and they've ended up in a river. So again, I'm running this search rescue again. I've got water police come down from Darwin, how are we going to get them into the river, that sort of stuff. I've got people searching the banks, trying to put a cordon in, and this sort of stuff. But this person hadn't quite disappeared. Everyone kept sort of seeing him. So sorry, the first one, that person didn't die or anything. That was great. They'd actually somehow just gone in the river, swum the other side, and just disappeared.
Wow.
Great. Happy days. The next one, though, they were still lurking around in the banks sort of thing. And at one point, I'd seen him, trying to yell at this dude, don't do it, man. Just come and give yourself up. You're not going to hurt you.
It's not worth your life.
It's not worth your life at all. Anyway, that person ended up getting arrested, but it took hours and hours and hours, and it was hot, man. And I'm trying to worry about the welfare of all the different constables, trying to just sort of be the forward commander for this sort of thing. And by this stage, I've probably had 2-3 hours sleep in 3 days. So I've never even had time to start processing what had gone on.
Yeah, in the original case.
In that original case, right? So I ended up, say this has like happened between like a Thursday and a Sunday. I went into, on the Monday, I went in to see the superintendent before I started my shift. And I just walked into her office and I just burst into tears, bro. Like just burst into tears. I go, man, I'm cooked. And I just couldn't help it. Like the emotions sort of just came out. So I'm absolutely cooked. I can't do this. I need a break. And, she's like, yeah, absolutely. Get in your car. Because my wife and kids living in Darwin, and I was just coming down.
So you're oh wow, and going back and forth.
She's like, just go back to Darwin, okay, and we'll sort it all out. And so I did that, and sort of like I was just like so fatigued. Anyway, come back home, you put the mask on.
Yep.
I don't want your wife and kids to see that you're all upset and that sort of stuff, right, man? And so I'll come back and just pretend that nothing's wrong. And there's your first mistake.
Exactly.
So I kind of like being brave enough to go out and put my hand up for help. But at the same time, I'm like doing the absolute opposite. And
it's different when it's your family though, because you don't want them to, and especially like
vicarious trauma, all that sort of stuff, man. It is real, and
it is. But like being the and I don't want to say misogynistic or anything like that, but being the man of the house, like being a man, and it's a burden, and you want to be there for your family. You want to be the rock. You want to be that solid person that they can always come to. And it's hard, man. When you need to ask that first time you put your hand up to get help, it's fucking hard.
So so then even though I'd gone home to have maybe I had like 4 or 5 days off, I didn't actually do anything to address what I sort of had gone through. Came back and said, "Yep, thanks for for the break. I feel he's better." Got straight back into work. No one would have thought anything different of it. And then as time went on, I started becoming like really numb, like stuff that would upset me didn't upset me, stuff that would excite me didn't excite me, and then I found that like I was actually having to pretend that I was feeling emotions. So my family never saw that, picked up that I was like going through that. And my mum rang me one day, and she was telling me, like, my mum is she's got a massive heart. She knows every single person in the world. Like, I can go, I'm going to France, and she'll be like, okay, you need to go visit such and such at such and such town. And I'm like, oh, Mum, I don't even know who that is. Why would I go do that? I can say I'm going anywhere and she'll know someone there. Like, she's just a people person, right?
Yep.
So she rings me up and she's telling me about the midwife that delivered me had just died. Right? And I'm like, just God, what the shit, Mum? Why would I want to know that? Firstly, how would I even know who the midwife was that delivered me? But secondly, I deal with everyone's death. I deal with everyone's problems all the fucking time. Why are you giving me anything extra? Like, and I snapped at her, man. And I was so nasty. And then I got off the phone with her and I was like, what the fuck are you doing, mate? Like, you asshole. How dare you speak to your mother like that? And that's when I started going, you're doing that. You're pretending that you've got emotions. You need to get some help, bro.
Yep.
And anyway, at this stage, I had taken a posting back to Darwin. I'd end up being a custody sergeant, and it's the worst job in the world. Like, all you're dealing with is people yelling and screaming and being abusive the whole time. That's it. There's nothing nice or fun about it, and you carry a massive amount of risk and stuff. Anything happens to the cells, you get really unhealthy people come in, someone dies, or someone has a health problem or anything. Like, it's on you. So
I've got a question for you, and from what I understand, when you release a person from custody, say they get caught up in the watch house overnight, even though they're released, they're still under your care for the next 24 hours. Is that right?
Yeah, to a degree. So if anyone has been in custody and say something horrible happens to them afterwards, it will be investigated as a death in custody. Doesn't mean it is, but they will have to go through and work out, did any of the interaction with law enforcement lead to this? Is there anything that should have been picked up that wasn't picked up? So yeah, the media will run with it straight away. There's a death in custody, and it will be investigated as that until proved otherwise.
Gotcha.
Sort of thing. So a lot of them don't actually end up being like that. Some do. Some do. Like there's a horror, like a luck. Thank God I've never been caught up in one like that. But it'll work out. Like, did that interaction with the police lead to this situation now? Was there an underlying health thing that was never picked up that should have been addressed? Or did the police do something that ended up that person having that health thing? Or was this person suicidal and showing that they were clearly suicidal and we didn't give them the right duty of care or get them the right help? That sort of stuff.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So, I think there's a bit of public misconception with that sort of stuff. But thank God, I haven't been caught up in something like that. But yeah, man, working in there was just like the wrong place for someone sort of starting to experience burnout. And unfortunately, I had when you're a custody sergeant, you are there until you are relieved. So, it's not like another job where it's like, no, this is my shift, off I go. It's like if the other dude's running late, you're stuck there until they come. You know what I mean? Or if they ring up sick and no one else takes that overtime, you have no choice but to do it. And unfortunately, the person that used to follow me on the roster was habitually sick. And so I was constantly doing double shifts all the time. I didn't even want to do them. I'm at the top banding of sergeant pay. I don't need the overtime. I'm living quite comfortably, but I'm constantly doing overtime because this person isn't functioning. So I'm just getting more burnout. Then I just got to the stage where it was like I had my long service leave coming, and I was just like, all I need to do is get to this long service leave and I'm going to be good, I'm going to be sweet. And I got to like 2 weeks before my long service leave, and I'm at the stage where I'm vomiting before I go to work. Like my body is telling me you need a break. So I'm vomiting, before I go to work, like every day. Can't help it. I was so burnt out, and then I just 2 weeks before my long service leave, I just crashed and sort of burned, and finally was like, I need proper help. I need to sort this out. So once you start dealing with that, you had to see a psychologist and psychiatrist. The first thing I want to do is medicate you. And I don't want to be medicated. Like, I was like, hey, I'm not suicidal. I never have been, never would be. But I'm burnt out. All I want to do is I realize I just need to talk this out. I need to talk about everything that's what happened and let it out, because that's what I was doing.
Get a lot off your chest.
Holding it in, man. Yeah. And that's all it was. And because I kept that mindset, and I was like, I'll do whatever it takes to get myself good again. I want my emotions back. I want to be the happy person I was. I'm a pretty happy, caring, compassionate person, and I want that person back. I don't want to be this hard dude that I was becoming. I started going through being treated for PTSD, which then became complex PTSD, which is actually apparently a lot harder to treat because you're not just treating one event or whatever. You're treating.
Yeah, and your expansive career, you've done so much.
You start talking about one, and then it actually led because of something that happened before. It went pretty crazy. But at this stage, I was really, really scared because my whole identity was about being a soldier, being a cop, and I was like, I'm going to lose both these things. But because I was so open and honest about it all, I got the right support. Was able to do it in a way that I was still allowed access to firearms. I was still able to maintain security clearances. I went off and did a promotion course with the army and got student merit. I was still able to function really, really highly whilst going through that. But I just wanted my emotions back, man. It took quite a while. So I think I was seeing a psychologist every 3 days or something for a few months, and then it become once every sort of week for a few months, and then sort of pitted out. But I'd start doing yoga, cut the booze off. Had to I was exercising all the time. I was really lucky. The army afforded me an opportunity to go over to Canada. I went and did equine therapy, which is just with horses, which is just the most amazing sort of experience ever. It's all about grounding yourself, your energy, and that sort of stuff. So that was epic. This thing called EFT tapping, which is tap it. It's sort of weird. You start talking about a thing and you do this tapping, but these things work. And then this thing called EMDR, and
Yep, I know EMDR. One of the guys that was just somewhere how to talk about EMDR.
Yeah, man, and that stuff like because I just had that, because I just kept I put in, all right, this is my goal, this is my end state, and I'm going to try all these different things to get me to that goal. Sort of, I was lucky, you know, I had really good support network from friends. So, you know, the biggest thing us blokes have is we think everyone's going to go, you're fucking pussy, and you know, like, get over it, stop being a sook. But like, people were like really supportive of it. I was lucky because I was able to keep doing my stuff with Army, which kept me in that support network, gave me a sense of sort of belonging and purpose and that sort of stuff, and a place where I was able to high achieve. So I was sort of like, I was able to keep doing that, sort of keep those sorts of goals and stuff, and have this really amazing group of mates that sort of really helped me through it. And you know, had a major and a one officer that sort of like really took me under that belt, like supported me the whole way through it, and like just would like didn't treat me like there was anything wrong with me. You know, like, still, hey, yeah, we believe in you, man, we'll support you, and you know, they still give me you know, positions or responsibility and stuff like that. Like, you know, they worked out, all right, he can handle this. So they didn't, you know, throw me on the broken pile and that sort of stuff. So,
which I think is very important for your recovery, because I can imagine how much worse it would have been if they'd gone, the police turned around and said, well, we're pulling you off the road, we're, you know, pulling you off, we're going to force you to take some leave, some sick leave, and the Army did the same thing. And that loss of identity, the loss of purpose, the loss of what you love, it would have been so much harder, I think.
100%, man. That's when you just sit on the couch and drink booze.
Exactly, and you know, I think we really need to commend the Army and the NT Police for you know, facilitating you to be able to do these things.
I would say that policing in general is at least 10 years behind the ADF with dealing with this sort of stuff. Like, defence is actually like, there's a Royal Commission of Veteran Suicide. I've got quite a few mates that have killed themselves, but in general now, I think defence is way ahead in the culture and the way that they actually deal with sort of mental health sorts of things.
Yeah, so, it's crazy when you start having these open conversations, and you know, even things like on this platform, even having conversation with friends, how many people have actually been through events that are quite similar, and you know, feeling the same way as you. It's just not openly talked about, but it's something that should be openly talked about. You know, when you said, the Army didn't look at you any different, they still gave you responsibility. You know, they still, you know, spoke to you like a normal person. You know, if we broke our arm or we broke our leg, it would just be, all right, cool. You need to go to the doctor. You'll get it fixed. It's all good. And that's how we need to view mental health. Like, being a peer support officer at work, I can tell you there's been a big cultural shift change. Like, when I get the guys, you know, we get the jobs where, you know, it's a mandatory report, and all right, you know, there's been a hanging or something, so we call these people and follow up, you know, 3 or 4 days after the job, give them a bit of time to decompress, and you get the guys that have been in the job for 20 years, all good, but you know, you get that answer from them, or you ring the guys, you know, the interns that were with them, or the guys that have been in the job 2 or 3 years, you get the, hey, you know, thank you very much for checking up on me, like, I appreciate it, like, oh, you know, I've reached out to a psychologist myself, or can you make an appointment for me, or I'm doing okay. If I need anything, I'll touch base. Thank you.
But the department has measures in stuff, and there's no doubt about that. But the culture is still, I just have beer, mate, you should be right. And we need to 100%. Sorry, excuse me. We need 100% to change that, and that's why, like, because people know that what a sort of high performer I sort of am. Like, I'm not scared to tell people about it, because I know that, like, I'll be talking to a group of people, and one of them will be going through it.
Oh, hell yeah.
You know, and it's like, hey, man, like, if you actually are brave enough to put your hand up and do that, you can get that help and you can get better. Like, it's all about your mindset. And you tell yourself you're broken.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to be. But you go, hey, man, I'm hurting right now. I don't want to hurt anymore.
Exactly.
There's ways around it. So the biggest thing I want to, like, tell people, like, the earlier you start getting some help, the easier it is to come back from. I think the worst thing about that's happened with PTSD is we put the D on it. You know, to say that something wrong with you. No, you've got post-traumatic stress because you're having a human reaction to absolutely abnormal situations that normal people shouldn't have to deal with.
That's right. Your amygdala has been under so much stress, and
100%.
it's been at that heightened level of response for so long.
Yeah, so, because I was so open and honest about things, I've been able to continue functioning and continue to be able to work and operate and do things. I shoot every different type of gun there is, just about, for everything from 9 mils up to, 50 cows. That hasn't stopped that. I'm still able to have security clearances, and, I won't say what it is now, but I'm about to go off and work for a pretty awesome organisation, and I was open up front with them. I've got the reports and stuff to support that, but obviously probably had to do extra sort of interviewing than normal people with people who haven't disclosed something like that.
Yep.
But still got through it, and still get to go off and, follow my dreams.
And do what you love, exactly. It's important. Do you have any advice for people wanting to come in these roles, whether it's army, whether it's policing?
Yeah, it's all about what your motivation to do it is. So if you're just doing it for a job and you've been pretty sheltered, you're gonna hurt. You're gonna hurt a lot, because people will want to do bad to you, and they will just see the uniform. They don't see you as a person anymore. So if you aren't exposed to getting abused and stuff like that, you're going to have to learn to develop a thick skin fast. But probably the biggest thing is work out who you can talk to. So my parents now, I will ring them after I have something horrible happen, because I know they can handle it, and I'll decompress with them, sort of, immediately after something. So I'm not bottling it up anymore, things like that. So yeah, make sure you've got a strong support network, and make sure that you have interests and friends that are not in that world. You got to remember that there is actually a normal world. And I think, unfortunately, especially in law enforcement, you sort of start believing the whole world is like that everyone is like that. And it's just not the case at all. There are so many amazing, kind, beautiful human beings out there, and you sort of forget that. So you need to surround yourself with good people, and people with completely different other interests. So then you're not just always talking shop. Get hobbies. I build model tanks and airplanes, and I love that sort of stuff. Just something that you can channel your sort of energy to.
You're also a bit of an amateur historian for Vietnam.
Yeah, I got a massive passion for Vietnam. That actually came from my little trip down through the PTS world. Was talking with the psychologist early on. I was like, who is Ben? What's he interested in, sort of thing, and got to think, I'm really, really interested in the Vietnam War. It's always had this connection to it. My grandfather had been there. I sort of grew up with it. I grew up from the 80s into the 90s, so all the war movies were about Vietnam. I just started collecting it, man, and I've got a lot of gear, a lot of uniforms, and stuff it gave me something, to hunt for, to research, and then to actually have something to hold, rather than empty bottles of booze. Yep.
Perfect, man. Hey, dude, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your story. The insight you've given is very unique and very raw, and I think it's going to help a lot of people out there, be able to put their hand up and, ask for that help or give a raw insight into the job. So when people want to do these roles, they know what to expect, both the good and the bad. So I really appreciate you coming on, Ben.
Cheers, brother. Hey, thanks to everyone that's served, the military or as first responders. Can be quite thankless, but we are out there doing the good work, doing God's work, and just keep your humanity and look after yourselves.
Wise words there, mate. Thank you very much, buddy.
Sure, bro.
Cheers.
Thank you for tuning into the Priority Zero podcast. We greatly appreciate your dedicated listenership. If you are interested in being featured as a guest on our show, we welcome you to reach out to us through our official channels on Facebook or Instagram. Alternatively, you can contact us via email at contact@priorityzero.com.au. We value your support in helping us spread these compelling stories to a wider audience. Kindly consider liking and sharing these episodes, as it plays a crucial role in our mission to reach as many people as possible.